Hi, I'm Jean Schumacher, founder of Simply Plant Based, where I have programs to help you to change your health destiny, including the Plant Based Academy, where I provide help, support, guidance, and resources to switch to a plant based lifestyle and get your health back. And today, I have the privilege of connecting with Dr. Edelita Hamis, an internal medicine and lifestyle medicine physician, and she's going to share her plant based journey with us today. So, thank you so much for taking the time to meet with me here today.
You're welcome, Jean. My pleasure.
Well, okay. The million dollar question, of course, is what made you go plant-based? I mean, share with us your story.
Sure. Well, it's quite a long story, but I'll try to make it as short as possible. But let me start with um my story with where I was in a mess. 2013, that was 2013 when I just finished my residency in internal medicine, and I was getting hired for as a primary care physician. And so, of course, like any employee, we do a blood work, right? A urinalysis and physical. So I was so confident that I'm healthy. But when I got my result for urinalysis, I was shocked when I saw was positive for glucose. And that means that my kidneys were spilling out sugar into the urine. And I look at my fasting blood sugar, it's just 101, and normal is less than 100. I wasn't really worried about that, but it's the sugar in the urine. So that's when I started checking my A1C, which is a test for diabetes every 3 months. And I was doing that every 3 months. And I was starting to feel scared because that number kept creeping up, from 5.7 to 5.9 to 6.2, 6.4, and it hit 6.5, and that's diabetic range. That's in
Mm.
2017. Yes. And I also had a lot of other issues like irregular bowel movement, gasiness, bloating, allergic sinusitis, and I was also overweight too. So that was my kind of a, laundry
Wake up
list.
call?
Yes, yes. And I was only like, gosh, in my 30s, and starting a primary care practice. Uh,
Physician, heal thyself.
I was so clueless then. On top of that, my husband was also a physician, internal medicine, both starting primary care, and he had the same health issues, but with extra. He's got hypertension, high cholesterol, triglycerides of almost 300, fatty liver, gouty arthritis, asthma, obese, 40 pounds heavier. And then on top of that, my mom, who's been diabetic for 25 years, was I think that added to my wake up call, because about the same time that I hit the A1C of 6.5, my mom was kind of like a voice from from behind saying, you know what, I did what doctors told me to do, and I'm getting tired and frustrated. She's very religious in taking her meds, but she's not getting better. She suffered from a lot of complications like neuropathy, really bad, that her foot would twist and get stiff and very painful. And she almost got blind. And her kidneys were also starting to show some signs of, injury. And she said one day, she called me, she's in the Philippines at the time. We were calling, and she said, I'm quitting. I'm going to stop taking all these meds, and you're not going to take the guilt because it's on me. I think that was like the last straw for me. And I have to, I kind of, like a wake up call. Like there's something that I'm doing here that I don't know what is it, but it's scary, and I have to find a way. And out of the blue, Netflix, thanks to Netflix, one night we were just scrolling, me and my husband, Netflix. That was Friday night, relaxing night, and we saw the title of these documentaries, what the health
Yes.
what the health and forks over knives. and
Classic.
and that changed our life forever. That opened us up to the plant-based.
Wow. Did your mom go plant-based too?
Yes, I did. I think I was about 2 months into the change. And since we talk every week, and I was telling her about what I'm doing, and she said, well, I think it's too late for me. And I said, well, Mom, I read a case study of a 93-year-old, right? Older than you, on insulin, higher dose than yours. And guess what? Stop the medication, insulin, right? And this old lady start getting the, energy back. And so I told her what I've been learning, and kind of refuting and slowly showing her by evidence that no, whatever limiting beliefs you have in your mind that you're old enough, it's too late, is wrong. And we have I have the evidence. So I think that helped her process. And yeah, and she said, and she didn't even tell me she didn't even tell me that she started changing. The next call I got was, she asked me, okay, what am I going to do with my insulin? I said, why? And she said, well, it's been 3 days and my numbers are dropping and I'm starting to feel scared about this. And like, okay. So I think, my mom is the first person that made me realize when you plant something that's true, you cannot underestimate the person's awakening, and
Right.
they're just going to do it. I didn't say for her to do it, but what gave her the validation is that 3 months later, me and my husband, before we change, I said, okay, we are doctors, we are scientists, we go by data, we go by evidence, objective evidence. And so we did a blood work before we change, and then waited 3 months, and then redid our test, and
And
everything reversed. His liver enzymes reversed, our A1Cs reversed, his lipid cholesterol numbers are coming down, uric acid also came down, and initially he had to be started on medication for gouty arthritis. So yes, he was on allopurinol, and we had to. I said, okay, numbers are looking good. We have the confidence to stop, the meds, and we did. And so everything, our allergies, resolved. We stopped buying the Nasacort or Nasonex, and he stopped taking the Claritin also on top of that. Before, he was no longer using the albuterol inhaler, everything. And like in just 3 months, he lost a total of 40 pounds. I took off 17 pounds.
why, wait, why is that? That just annoys me to no end that men, they drop it. It's like, yeah, I lost 300 pounds in a week. And it's like, why? For men, it's the weight is well. So anyway, I digress. Sorry. Continue.
Well, the thing with the plant-based, it really was something that I didn't expect. Looking back, is when I changed my diet, and you have to picture this. Our situation was both of us initially were full-time physicians, full-time primary care, and then we were raising our twin boys at that time, were 8 years old. And then when we decided, you know what, let's give this a try. We both know we don't like medicine, right? We are drug pushers with license, right? And I tell myself like, yeah, what am I different from a drug pusher? I'm a drug pusher. It's just really that I have the license, and I'm it's a calculated risk, right? Risk benefit stuff, but we know the drill. Um, in conventional medicine, our training is on, okay, what's the disease, treated with medicine, and our drill, one medicine, two, then becomes three, then four, then five, and we don't want to go that route. We were still 37 years old then, and I said, wow. And my mom had journeyed through that path, and she's returning with frustration, and I'm just about to start my journey with diabetes, and I said, well, I cannot take that same path, right? I don't see any bright future in that one. I need to find something else. And so when my husband and I decided, okay, let's give it our best shot in this one, knowing that, considering that this is going to be our last card, I've decided to step back on my practice, went part-time, and spent so much time in the kitchen. I didn't have a coach then. I've got to redo all my menu, and I didn't have time to exercise anymore. So I thought, my gosh, I'm cooking, I'm eating to my satisfaction. I'm not starving. And every week I step on the scale, I'm losing 1 pound minimum. I'm like, okay, so one of the misconception that I busted that time is food trumps exercise. Because before I
Right?
changed food, I was exercising, right? I was spending like an hour every day on aerobic, uh, high intensity exercise, and it
Right?
didn't my numbers. But when I changed the diet, I didn't have that time anymore. But I just really focus on what I learned, what I know, what I read in evidence, and just did it with full trust in the process. And every time I step on the scale, it's like, oh my gosh, it's it was just mind blowing.
It is.
Mhm.
And as historian for the National Health Association, and I'm reading and researching about these pioneers back in the 1800s that literally were uh, promoting this lifestyle already. And it's just mind blowing to me that this didn't take hold more. And I think a lot of it had to do with the Civil War here in the United States. But oh my gosh. Oh, well, the good news is you and your mom got the memo. And
Oh,
got,
yes. I just feel blessed that I know that when I went to medical school, I I'm already attuned with health and wellness, and something that I look forward learning in medical school, but it wasn't the focus in medical training. So when
did you get any training at all in nutrition?
I remember, we were just handed out a cheat sheet on like one or two, 3 pages about some, vegetables and fruits and herbs that very,
Minimal.
it's like a memo. And then like, okay, next week we'll have a test on this. So, but just that's it. That's the closest thing that I got from in medical school about nutrition, and in internal medicine training, and all doctors, we know about this. We barely we don't talk about food. Uh, we
Which
don't.
just seems crazy to me to not focus on the food, the fuel that runs this high performance vehicle. Hello?
Correct. Yeah, and when we watched that documentary, What the Health and Forks Over Knives, that's the first night we decided, okay, every night we're gonna watch one more, one more, one more. It's because we have a bias already, right? It's like 8, 9 years of medical education and training, and it's just that not easy to
Let
forget.
that go. Yeah.
Yeah, so we we really saturated our brain with this new information and that mindset of, okay, I've got to accept the fact that I don't know this dimension, but it is evidence based, and I ought to, it's my responsibility to, like, as much as I want to know what's the new drug out there that can help my patient, I have to put that same mindset of like, okay, this is another thing. And it doesn't only hold a promise, but it is true medicine. So I feel that moral obligation to, put my head down and read and, watch, and went to conferences, international plant-based conference, and really took it by heart. And I think it was the one of the most humbling point of my life, that I had to accept that I have to forgive myself that I didn't know this, and it's nobody else's fault. And what's important is I have now the information. I think it's a divine intervention that I had that one night of, scrolling down Netflix, and just out of the thousand, videos that pop up, it popped up for me. So I think that it's very, really humbling. The moment that I became a patient myself, I felt what it felt to be a patient. For the first time, I I felt so scared, scared, and at the same time like a child, just letting the let it all letting all the negativity out, and the frustration out, so I can let the new information in. And I think that's part of the healing that I find very helpful, is to accept that I was wrong. And I was wrong because I know if I was right, then I wouldn't have all these health issues. If I was right, I wouldn't have waited for my mom to say I'm quitting. For somebody to say I'm quitting, it's not on her. It's on the system. It's on the, what's just only available for her. And also I think that one of the motivation to, and still to this day I'm keeping that myself, are my kids. Once we understood how diabetes, for example, because I have to understand the disease entity, right? Because my very, very top question at that time, Jean, was like, how did I become diabetic? I thought I was careful, right? And I know type 2 diabetes, although my mom is diabetic, it's not just hereditary. I know that it's the fact, and I can't just deny it. I said, okay, it's not hereditary. I'm high risk, yes, but being high risk doesn't mean I'm, destined to become diabetic. So what is it that am I doing wrong? And at that time, when I admitted that I didn't know what I was doing wrong, that got me more determined, because I thought, I'm raising these two boys with me, my twin boys, and I don't know what I'm doing wrong. And yes, something that I put inside my body has got to do with this. And I don't know what was wrong. And definitely it's the same thing that I'm putting into their mouths too. So if my husband and I became diabetic at 37, my boys are going to get diabetic in their teenage years. So I've got to find out what what I was doing wrong. I think that
And you
was like,
did.
yeah, I think it's a 3 generation, it's a generational motivation. My mom, me, and the kids. So I looked at it in in that kind of mindset, and it really powered me up to dive into it and not just, dabble.
All right. Well, how long did it take you to convert? Was it gradual, or it's like today's the day?
I'd say that it is a mix. It's gradual, but with a timetable.
Mm-hmm.
So I mentioned about mindset, right? Part of before I started the journey, I had, this is just me, my personality is, I want to know everything, everything surrounding this change that I'm doing. It's not just what I'm going to put on my plate, but I as I was studying and researching and listening and to podcasts and watching videos, you will find that there are so many people who have gone through the change, who cannot avoid talking about mindset. And that got me into evaluating my own mindset. Okay, so where's my mind in, dialed in right now? So what's my tendencies? So I thought, okay, some people did it this way, they changed right away, and what's the likelihood that they stayed if they. So anyway, I decided that I'm going to go gradual, and in that time period I'm changing gradual is I'm not going to stop learning something new every day. And then I made a list of what the things like the major things that I need to let go of and the major things that I need to put in to my diet and lifestyle. And in each items, I put kind of a timeline. So I had a schedule. I remember I scheduled when I'm gonna thoroughly check and clean up my refrigerator. What days am I gonna set for my freezer, for my pantry, right? So when is the due date for or deadline for giving up pork, beef, fish, egg? I put that, and I mean it's a timeline, and including my kids. I said, okay, the kids, I'm gonna give it 6 months, half half. So they're eating half of what we are eating, and the boys are still getting their favorite food, but 6 months only. After 6 months, I'm gonna stop preparing. And they are aware. They were aware, of course. So it's planned. It's gradual but planned. And and now when I coach my patients, I said, okay, there's nothing wrong with going gradual, but make sure that you did not forget to put deadlines. Because if you're just gonna let it all, go with the flow, like nature takes its course, you know what nature is designed to do for you. It's towards failure if you don't plan. If you don't plan, right? If you fail to plan,
Failure to plan is a plan for failure.
correct. Yes, so I adopted that. So yeah, it's a gradual, but it time with a timetable that I committed I should honor, right? I should be smart enough to not renegotiate and compromise because I already understood what's going to happen if I don't do this. How did I come to that kind of strong commitment? Because I educated myself beforehand. So yeah.
Well, what was the most difficult obstacle you faced when you went plant-based?
Oh yeah, that's a really good question. Looking back, I think it's isolation. It's social isolation. I think you agree that with any venture, in life, like if we decide to change something drastically, we all want to have that support from the environment around us, right? Our family, our friends. Unfortunately, in the journey to whole food plant-based lifestyle, you're doing it by yourself or maybe with your immediate family, like what happened to us. And you can't pull them into your, you know, into
Right.
your path. And so part of it, I remember it was a decision me and my husband made, like, okay, for first 3 months, we're gonna say no to, invitations, like parties and gatherings. And why is that? Because number one, we are not confident yet that we can, stay on track while in that gathering. Number two, we don't have that strong spirit to say I'm okay hearing things from people who we know are in disagreement to what we're doing. So emotionally, we're not mature yet. So we gave ourselves 3 months. So social isolation is a big thing, and I think that it would have probably been easier if I knew then that there were coaches in the plant-based world that are extending help. And at that time, I just didn't have a clue.
Well, that's one of the reasons why I started the Plant-Based Academy, is because you need that support, you need that connection. And I've noticed like my friends have changed. It's not to say that I don't have my old friends and we get together, but my new friends, we get together, we do potlucks, and you don't have to ask, what's in this? Can I eat this? Do you have any animal products? Is there, all these questions. We don't have to ask that. We don't have to focus on where are you going to get your protein? Are you going to shrivel up in the corner? We know, we get it. And so we can move on and enjoy each other as friends and company. And
Mhm.
it's just a whole different world where you're connecting with people that value their health and what they're doing. And looking forward to, oh my God, have you heard about this new report that's coming out, about whatever research that's coming out to support it, and you're like, oh my God, tell me about it. So they're excited to learn about this too. But it's that, you're right, it's that social isolation, which was one of the reasons why most people do not continue it or have a hard time,
Mhm.
because unless you have that support and other people cheering you on and saying, come on, you can do this, let me share you this recipe, try this, oh my God, it's so good, when you
Mhm.
have other people to connect and support with you, it's so powerful.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
really
I mean, we are social animals, right? And it's part of our nature to want to conform with the society or that group that we are in. And another mindset, right, hack. Again, I'm really big on mindset. I spent like more time with the mindset check because I have to, that's why we gave ourselves 3 months, right? It wasn't even enough when we came out and start joining back again with the group. I have to develop a system first, a system. And one of the things I share with my patients, like, okay, how do you navigate around social, gatherings? And I said, well, I've decided, and this is just me, I'm going to eat before I go, right? I'm going there for interaction. Before my mindset was okay, there's going to be a lot of food, right? And I got to go there hungry enough to, in, eat all what I want to eat. But this time I said, okay, I'm going to this party, I'm going to this occasion for to connect with people. The social relation is now my focus on and every time I step into a group. And it really is very freeing. And I find more meaningful interaction that
right,
way because my mind is not focused on food. So eat before I go and or bring, right? If it's a potluck or I got to bring what I know I can eat. Why would I bring something that I can't eat? So worst comes to worst, nobody brought something plant-based. I brought mine
right,
and enough to share. So there are many ways actually that we can thrive in this world that's not ready to make the change that
right.
we have, you know, started.
So what's a day of food like for you?
My day of food is pretty constant. It would start with an oatmeal for breakfast. So my first meal would be a loaded oatmeal with a minimum of 3 different kinds of fruits and preferably berries. And then I'll have my walnuts, my chia seeds, ground flax seeds, maybe some almond nuts too. And then my oatmeal, my soy milk or almond milk, which is unsweetened. That's it for breakfast. I can have a banana on the side, right? And that is, I call it my loaded oatmeal, my loaded oatmeal because gosh, it's really loaded with a lot of antioxidants, micronutrients, and about the fiber, right? And the good fats and the good protein source. Everything is in there. I think we checked off. I One day I decided, okay, you know what? I cannot find any other way to any other food menu that's so easy to make and still have the same amount of nutrients in it. Because I look up Dr. Gregor's, that daily
Daily
dozen.
dozen.
I was just curious, like, okay, I can't give this loaded. I need to have the evidence why, right? And I go through the checklist, and I remember I checked off about a third of it in the checklist, no
I
less
know,
than that.
right?
Like, so how can I give this up already for breakfast? I'm able to meet this requirements, and so anyway, so that's my breakfast always, and we've been eating that for since we started, and my boys are also in that too. So lunch and dinner kind of varies, but make sure that I stick by my rule. And my rule is 50% of that plate for lunch or dinner should be vegetables and fruits. And then 25% would be my whole grains. It can be corn, brown rice, barley, bulgur, any kind of whole grains. And have some bread too. We can do some bread too. And then the last part of 25% could be a legume, beans, nuts, lentils, seeds, tofu, right, from soy. So I have that 50% vegetables and fruits, and then 25% my plant proteins, the legumes, beans, nuts, lentils, seeds, and then 25% are my whole grains. Wow. So simple. So I like to make it simple because I know complexity is the enemy of execution. The more you complicate things, the less you're likely going to do it, because that's just the way the brain doesn't want complexity.
Right? Just keep it simple.
Keep it simple. So yeah, and so it can look like a salad to me, and my salad is quite different from the typical restaurant salad.
A little bit of that white lettuce, a slice of a cucumber, one cherry tomato, and if you're lucky, you get that black olive, right?
Oh yeah. And then a lot of dressing, where you're saturated fat, and salt and sugar.
Yeah.
So yeah, it can be a soup, right? It can be anything. I can have a green smoothie, and then a sandwich, but just go by that rule. And I think that's much easier for anybody to change. It's just like, okay, so what are the vegetables and fruits that I love to eat? What are the plant proteins that I can, imagine myself eating and sustain eating? What are the grains? And then you just get to pick and mix and match.
Right. Keep it simple. Well, what are 3 things that someone can do to help start this journey?
Oh, that's my favorite question. I'm going to answer that question in a philosophical way. So I've said I'm really big on mindset, and the precept is that in my journey and my experience, been coaching and helping patients, and even with my family, friends, relatives, I saw a lot of failures. And the failure is not from not having enough energy and motivation. Failure was coming from disappointment. And I try to analyze this. The disappointment in somebody who wants to change is very predictable. What happens is they have that energy, that sudden burst of energy that they want to go on and start it tomorrow, right now. I'm gonna change what I'm gonna eat this lunch because I heard it at breakfast that it's good to eat this food. I'm gonna change it to lunchtime or dinner time or tomorrow. So proximal to their awakening. What I found is that can be a recipe for failure. So the first thing I tell patients is don't start. Don't start right away. Don't start eating plant-based right away. You're going to start with the very crucial step that many people bypass, and that is spending time to find and know your why. Know your why.
That is so profound, because if you don't know your why, you're not going to continue this journey.
You're not gonna continue this journey. And I tell you, the journey is not a walk in the park. This why, why do you want to be healthy? Why do you want to get off medications? Why do you want to reverse your diabetes? Why do you want to lose 40 pounds? Right? What is your why? And you got to be very, very honest about it. What is it that you think the plant-based diet can help you get healthy, and what's your why. You don't stop there. Just want to get healthy. Why? Right? For me, my biggest why is, my gosh, if I fail, then I'm gonna fail my kids. No matter how much wealth I'm gonna leave them with, in this world, if I don't show them that health is the greatest wealth, then they're still gonna fail. So
Right.
that's one of my biggest why, right? And so start with that, because deeply understanding your why and making it as the strongest voice in your head will make your journey less harder, less steeper, more meaningful.
That's
So
so
know
true.
your why. That's
Know your
one,
why.
first one. The second thing is, after knowing your why, the reason why you want to get healthy, why you want to reverse your diabetes, whatever that is, after knowing your why, you're going to do what? You're going to educate yourself. You're going to self-educate about nutrition,
Right.
regardless of, you cannot say, oh, I'm not in a medical field. I'm not like you. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a nurse. I'm not. Guess what? We are all in the same footing. As I've mentioned, right? Our standard education, uh, I think, has failed all of us to know the truth about this. And we are very fortunate nowadays that we have, the means to connect with other people who are doing this. So educate yourself about whole food plant-based diet. Know that it is not synonymous to vegetarian and vegan diet. Because I've got a lot of patients coming to me who have been vegetarian and vegan all their lives for a religious, reason, or for environmental reason, 5, 10 years, 20 years, and they're still coming to me for wanting to lose weight, get the cholesterol under control, because now their doctor said, next time you come back, I'm going to start you on medicine. And they got scared, right? So it's not the same. So whole food plant-based diet is a different, has a different twist of a vegan diet. Know what's the difference. And then I also believe that if you want to achieve your goal faster, the faster way is to model someone. Find somebody who's been in the mess that you're in right now. And this somebody is that person who walks the talks, and not just telling you, by the book, by theory, but
Mhm.
really doing it themselves to every single day.
Right.
So find someone who to model with and help you. That's the fastest way. Because if you go to Dr. Google, it's gonna flood you with a lot of confusing information.
There is.
I
Especially
mean,
when you come up against like paleo and keto people. Oh my gosh. Wow. And yes, you're going to lose weight, but you're also going to be hurting yourself in the long term, but they don't understand that. They just will look for that magic bullet, and oh yes, and I can continue to eat the things that I love and I can still no, no. It's not going to work that way. And you
yeah.
can't sustain it. You can't. So
Yes,
you're
you
right.
cannot sustain it. You cannot sustain it. I have a colleague, friend, who went on keto diet. I just want to mention this one, but went on the keto diet, and he's a physician. You know, went on the keto diet, kind of want to lose weight. He did lose weight. He kind of mentioned that his bad cholesterol, start spiking, so he stopped the keto diet. But he was on it for 2 years, and when he stopped the keto diet, not too long, he had a stroke.
Yeah.
So it's not about the stopping of the keto diet. So it has to be explained that it's not about the stopping of the keto diet. The stroke was
You're
just a,
building that cholesterol, that atherosclerosis.
yes,
And
yeah.
and when that thing ruptures inside, hello, you
Mhm,
know,
mhm.
and you're eating the wrong foods that run this high performance vehicle.
Correct, correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
So educate. Okay. So first, know your why. Second is educate and get the right person to help you. And then the third one is take massive action. Don't dabble. You already know your why, right? And you kind of cement it, and you kind of nail it down. And every day you're reminding yourself of the why, And then you educate yourself of the details and how to execute, what you need to know about plant-based eating, how to guard your mind as much as you guard your mouth. So why dabble?
Right.
Take massive action. Take massive action. Don't underestimate your ability to change your way of eating, your way of lifestyle, because your eating habits and your lifestyle are dictating 80 to 90% of your health status.
It's true.
It is. It's not genetic. So, of all these lifestyle habits, it's the eating that I consider as 70 to 80%. So I would bank on my energy, my investment on it, invest on it. This the food, four-letter word, right? Food. Because to me, food is like an elephant in the room that's eating you alive slowly but surely. And lifestyle medicine, we are lucky that our founding colleagues have put lifestyle medicine out in the spotlight. The lifestyle medicine is giving us back the power to transform this elephant in the room into a watchdog, right? A guard dog that will make sure we are safe. Right. So we have the power to change this, to change food. There's a quote by Anne Wigmore that says, food can either be the safest and most powerful form of medicine, or it can also be the slowest form of poison. True. So get a pick. There are foods that are powerful medicine. There are foods that are slow poison that only is going to feed the disease. Our job is to keep our eyes wide open, our hearts humbled, and our minds without limits. And I think that it's really easy if we think differently in our perspective. It's easy to make ourselves well again, right? If you're sick now, can be well again. So those are three things. Know your why, educate yourself, get the right person involved with you, and take massive action.
Oh, powerful. Thank you so much. And thank you for taking the time to meet with me here today and share your incredible journey. Keep it up and you're helping so many people.
Yeah, I hope that I've inspired many people. It is truly, I am dedicating myself, I think, for my entire lifetime on this, because it's a legacy that I can leave, not just to my children, but for people to understand that we're not going to be pointing fingers here, right? We're not going to be blaming our doctors, and because again, we became who we are in conventional medicine because of the training that we received. So I think that if you heard the word, you hear the good news, it's on you now. The ball is on you, right?
Right.
Are you going to play the game, a new game, or just going to hold it and drop it to your side?